Welcome to the Keenan Lake Show on SIBN Radio. Keenan Lake is the author of the book My Daddy Taught Me That, published by Welcome, a social worker and activist. You can like this show's fan page at www.facebook.com/The Keenan Lake Show on SIBN Radio. Feel free to post any comments, questions, or requests for his book on the fan page. Now let's go into the studio with your host, Mr. Keenan Lake, and co-host, Marcus Select.
Yes, welcome aboard to the Keenan Lake Show, live and on demand on SIBN Radio. And we have Keenan Lake in the house. We want to thank all of you that have joined us either live or on demand for the show today. We're talking about who's responsible for raising our children. Keenan, how are you doing today? Keenan, are you there?
Yes, sir. I can hear you just fine now, Coach. There was a little interference there, but I think we're back in business.
Okay, yes. How are you doing today?
So how are you today, Coach?
Hey, I'm doing good. The sun is shining, but if it was raining, it would still be good. Tyson is there as well, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. Tyson is on the line, yeah.
How you doing, Tyson?
But I'm
That's good. We're going to work out the kinks. Hopefully we won't have too many technical difficulties. But, Keenan, talk about what we're going to talk about today.
Well, Coach, the title of the show today is basically, and like I said, I have a bad echo, but yeah, the title of the Coach is, who's responsible for raising our youth?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And, yeah, I don't hear an echo, but there's a little bit of interference from somewhere. But let's try to proceed ahead and see what happens. You guys there?
Coach, can you? Yeah, I can hear you, Coach. I think this is a...
Yeah, I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so yeah.
All righty. I think got a little interference there. We're going to go to a small commercial break, and we'll be right back here in just a few minutes. All right, stand by. Accountable. Who taught you that? My daddy taught me that. That's right, the new book all the way from Asheville, North Carolina, representing the legacy of Benny Lake is Keenan Lake, the author of My Daddy Taught Me That, the book and the program for young men in Asheville, North Carolina, and throughout the region. Tune in to the program, the project, and the book at MyDaddyTaughtMeThat.com. For more information, email lake@MyDaddyTaughtMeThat.com or call 828-582-2261. That's 828-582-2261. MyDaddyTaughtMeThat.com.
Now is the time. To have your radio show on SIBN Radio. You're ready to share your message with the world. Then call 404-910-5019. That's right, call 404-910-5019. Producing your radio show on SIBN Radio. For more information, dial 404-910-5019. That's right. 404-910-5019. Now is the time.
All right, we're going to try this again. Mr. Keenan Lake, are you there?
I am here, Coach.
Yeah, we might have lost our guests. Those lines, that conference line, you have to probably call on use a landline, so there won't be any interference. But Keenan, let's talk about I don't know if Tyson is still there. If he is, fine. But let's talk about what we're going to talk about today, man.
All right, Coach. So, yeah, basically the show, again, for all our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to the Keenan Lake Show. The show is basically titled, Who is Responsible for Raising Our Youth? And, Coach, last night I got into a big argument with a couple of my relatives, a couple of cousins. We were, debating and talking, and this all started when one of my cousins was talking about a TV personality who does one of the reality TV shows, and they talked about how this guy was making all this money and doing this thing. And when it came for me to put in my 2 cents, I pretty much said, the guy's a clown. Like, he's a clown, and he doesn't really represent anything, and I don't really watch it. So my cousin got into it and saying I was hating on the way he was making his money, and and I shouldn't be so concerned about the way these guys make their money. So then we all started talking about entertainers and actors and musicians and all that kind of stuff, rappers, all that kind of stuff, and it just led to this, Coach. It was like these people make their money, they do their thing, and my cousin stated that it wasn't the responsibility of the entertainers or the actors or the musicians or rappers to be responsible for the kids. That should be the parents' job, and then we should not fault or mock the people for making money the way they make money. So what do you say about that, Coach?
Well, I mean, we already know, first of all, that the money-making concepts that we have in today's culture does not exclude any idea whatsoever. There's no bars hold, so to speak. And you're absolutely right. On the backs of others, money is being made. You talk about it all the time on the show when you talk about the privatization of prisons, the lack of equality and justice in the justice system. You talk about it all the time when it comes to nonprofits moving into neighborhoods, collecting money from the federal government and other places for programs for African Americans or other minorities. Whereas if those parents and those community workers and leaders would just step up and stand up, that they themselves could be able to service their own communities. So, I mean, this is no different from those other avenues and pathways by others kind of use those who are downtrodden as a means to get a leg up. And so you're absolutely right, once again, in the assessment that anyone who would put others' development at risk just to make a dollar, it's punking out. I mean, if we could just, as men would say in the street, you're punking out because, if I just talk about anybody's mama and, girls and call people all kind of names, and talk about the only easiest thing to talk about, which is sex, by all means, I can get paid. And this is what the corporate record structure has done for the past several decades, is to switch it from consciousness music that will elevate and motivate, to music and videos and the like that will captivate a selected audience that is immature and undeveloped for the purposes of making cash. I mean, you call it a spade a spade. That's what this show is about.
Exactly, Coach. And to elaborate a little bit more about what you said, what I told my relative was this. I said, listen, we all got to eat. I understand that. We all got to, we all want to better our lives. We all want to make progress and be better for it. But at whose expense? And, it's like at whose expense and on whose back? And this is the thing. And he made a valid point. He said, listen, if I'm an entertainer, it's not my job to worry about, your kids and to worry. He said, I'm trying to entertain. That's what I do. But at the same time, you have to be held accountable, primarily if you're in the public eye. Mm-hmm. If you're in the public eye, you're in the limelight, you have, hundreds of young folks and can influence, because what I told him was this, and to all my listeners, what I told my cousin was this: listen, we all know primarily what's happening in society, what's going on. Even, our parents or some parents are not doing what they're supposed to do as parents anyway. Mm. So we're leaving a large portion of our children, a large number of our children who are not only raising themselves, but being raised by what they see on TV, what the influence that the media has. So, you're right. I mean, it's like if the parents are not teaching, if the parents are not getting it, then they're being raised by the mess, the junk, the crap that they see and that they learn. And it's like, how can you not take responsibility? How can you not say, okay, you know what? This is what I do.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I earn a living. But at some point in time, it's like maybe I have to sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go out and put certain things in my music. I can't go out and portray a certain image on a television screen because somebody's watching it. Some young man, some young woman is seeing what I do, and it's going to influence and impact their lives. And so, my thing with that, Coach, is like I said, at whose expense do you make a dollar for?
Mm-hmm. Well, it goes back to what you said last show. And then let me let Tyson weigh in because I think he's there. But, Keenan, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear him. But I'm going to let him weigh in, and then I'll give a synopsis of what he says. Tyson, you there?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Well, I'm the only one that can hear you because you're on the conference line. So go ahead, Tyson, and I'll relay that over to Keenan, what you're sharing.
Okay. I want to kind of reflect on what you said, Coach. When you talked about, there's no moral compass, and pretty much in anything now. So when you're looking at it from an entertainment standpoint, Keenan was saying that he was upset, and his cousin was saying that it's not my responsibility to worry about the welfare of somebody's child. And I think my point is, I think it comes to, like, for myself and even for you, Coach. If for me, any music that I put out or video or anything that I do, I'm held accountable according to the Word of God. That's my standard. That's my personal individual standard. And I feel like that's where my sense of accountability starts and ends. I feel like if I was to put out certain type of music and some kids were to take that music and apply it to their lifestyle, when they do something negative, at some point I have some responsibility in that.
Right.
Not all of it, but
Right.
some. And if you don't have that, pretty much it's almost like, what God do you serve? If you're chasing the money, then obviously you're not concerned with what happens after the fact. I want to make the money, and this is entertainment for me, and I'm an entertainer, and that's a lot of people's take on it is, I'll entertain and I'll let it go from there. Now, if you're not doing your responsibility at home with teaching your kids, then so be it. I think the culture has changed in that nature. That even in the 80s and the 70s, the music was a reflection of the culture. It was a reflection of what our people were dealing with, what they were going through. Now, it's like we're in the spoiled generation, so no one's accountable for anything that they say or do.
But Keenan, I want to share with you what he said. Keenan, you there? Keenan? Did I lose him?
Yeah, I'm here, Coach.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I just wanted to relate what Tyson said because I know we on different lines here coming into the studio. But he's saying that, hey, at the end of the day, folks still are partially.
This is SIBN Radio.
Folks are partially having all kind of challenges today. Folks are partially responsible for what they're doing. You see what I'm saying? They can't claim, even though they may want to, they can't claim that they are not a participant in this. And
Exactly.
I'm going to hold on. Let me add Tyson to the conference call. Hold on one second, Keenan, because we having some challenges. I'm gonna merge the calls, guys. Stand by. Tyson, can you hear Keenan?
Yeah, I can hear Tyson now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I got
yeah.
y'all now. Okay. But Tyson, I was sharing with him, and now that you can hear Keenan, I was sharing with him how you said that at the end of the day, individuals that disseminate any information in entertainment, I don't care what kind of venue it is, they're still partly responsible, even in this culture of me and mine. You know what I'm saying? And Tyson, that latter part that you said is very important. If you want to repeat that, now that I have you guys on the conference, I'm sorry about that.
Okay, I don't know which parts you're talking about, Coach, but at the end of the day, and Keenan and I talked about the conversation that he had with his cousin, a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, a lot of people like I think the culture has changed, and I think the level of responsibility within our community has definitely changed. If you go back and take an entertainer like Marvin Gaye, his music was about, you know, war and what's going on with the generation, and trying to get leverage on what's happening in the generation. You know, and so entertainment reflected that. James Brown's music, you know, all that, it reflected what the culture and what we were going through as black people. Today, it goes back to, first of all, we've been given everything, and at the end of the day, these people don't feel any responsibility for what they do and what they're calling entertainment. Right. I mean, you have some that do take accountability, but a great deal of what entertainers do is for show. Even on the reality shows, a lot of the stuff is scripted because we know that people want to see it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And at the end of the day, you know, for me, and I know for Keenan, and I even know for you, Coach, you're held to a different standard, and that's because you serve Christ.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that means you know that anything that you say and do, you're accountable for it. Everybody does not have that moral compass. It's about the dollar or the God that you serve.
Well, I think the key to what you said, Tyson, though, is this. In this world, we have gods, small G-O-D-S, and some and many have chosen that money is their God. Money is their God. And so if you're listening to this show today, it's going to be real difficult to take responsibility for your children or anything else if money is your God, because when money call, you got to come. And when money say strip, you got to strip. When money say cuss, you got to cuss. When money say, you know, say this, you got to say that. But under the other auspices, when we have a spiritual relationship with the person of Christ, whether you believe in Christ or not, it's still, you need to have a spiritual relationship. Any kind of spiritual person, I think, will be more responsible, I think, to Keenan's point, and more accountable than someone whose allegiance is only to the green dollar bill. You know, Keenan?
Right. Yeah. Coach, when we come back from break, I'm going to elaborate on this a little bit more.
Yes, sir. All right. I finally got the call straight. Got everything straight. Now you want to go to break, Keenan, but it's all right. Me and Tyson gonna come play you in some basketball and straighten all of this out. We can get all this straight on the basketball court. We'll be right back, everybody, after the break. All right, stand by.
On SIBN Radio. You're ready to share your message with the world. Then call 404-910-5019. That's right, call 404-910-5019. Producing your radio show on SIBN Radio. For more information, dial 404-910-5019. That's right. 404-910-5019. Now is the time.
Ustedes están escuchando SIBN, transmitido por Salet USA TV. Síganos en Twitter @SaletUSATV o visítenos en www.41596radio.com.
See the number one show on SIBN television and radio. Coach's Corners Daily Show, now airing at www.415-96radio.com for hardcore motivation and daily inspiration. That's www.415-96radio. That's www.415-96radio.com. All right, we're back here with the Keenan Lake Show, and we have Keenan Lake and Tyson on deck. Keenan, are you there? Tyson, are you there?
Yep, I'm here too, Coach. So listen, Coach, back to talking about and piggybacking on what you and Tyson said. And let me add that Tyson had a very good point when he talked about the moral compass. To kind of further that, this is what we have, Coach. Like, bringing back up the conversation I had with my cousin, he talked about, you know, a set number of rappers who have organizations, foundations for youth, what they do, how they give back to the community. And what I told him is this. First of all, folks, to all my listeners out there, what we're dealing with is a take-a-village type approach. This is not about the parents, okay, as much as it is about the parents. And I'm not trying to get any parents off the hook. Parents, you have to be parents. You have to take care of your children. You have to step up and raise your children. That's evident. We have to have more parents taking care of our youth and raising our children and raising your children and stuff like that in the communities and ultimately the country. But the situation that we find ourselves in today is something that one person can't do alone. It can't be left to the school teachers. It can't be left to counselors. It's a take-a-village approach, and we all have to be accountable to make sure that these kids and these youth are getting what they need. So back to what my cousin was saying. He said that, all these, the set number of rappers have all these organizations and foundations, which is great. I'm not knocking anybody's organization. I'm not knocking anybody's foundation. If you're doing something positive for these youth out there or for anybody, then that's a good thing. That's a great thing. However, Tyson and I actually talked about this earlier, was that which voice is being heard the most? You understand what I'm saying, Coach? So it's like, if I'm a rapper or I'm a singer or I'm an entertainer, and I can reach millions of people by what they see me do or what they hear me say, as opposed to what I'm doing behind the scenes, that's what's going to be attributed to your name and your reputation. So, yeah, you may do a great deed in helping others behind the scenes and donating, large substantial amounts of money to an organization. But that impact that you're portraying is reaching far more children, youth, and even our adults today than anything that you're doing behind the scenes is positive. You guys can weigh in on that.
Well, Keenan, because I know Tyson got something to say on that one, but listen, we have to understand, as Tyson said earlier, that at the end of the day, we are all our brother's keeper. Now, let's just pretend for a moment that, we are not Christians, which we are. All three of us are born-again believers in Christ. But, the show is not about being a Christian. We're just sharing that because that's our point of reference for how we deal with the ills of life and even the good. But let's just pretend like right now that's off the table. At the end of the day, we are all our brother's keeper. We are all responsible. We all pay, whether the person is good or bad. How we pay when the person is bad? Well, our tax dollars are collected and they're going toward the care and the facilitation of someone who has been locked away in a prison, whether it be state, federal, or otherwise, to be alienated from society, but yet we still have the bill. We still have the bill. So I think that, before we go too deep about the spiritual part, what we must understand is that at the end of the day, we're still all responsible for one another. We don't want to admit it. I know it's not politically correct to say that anymore. We got political parties that say pull yourself up by your bootstraps and all this other kind of stuff. And we got other political parties that says doing what you feel, and everybody got a right to do what they feel. But at the end of the day, we are all still responsible for one another. And if we have a pathway to do something and it harms the least of these, then it harms all of us. And this type of community thinking we have strayed far away from. Tyson? Tyson, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I know you want to weigh in on that one.
Yeah, you know what, what if, and when I'm speaking, not even from a Christian standpoint, like you said, Coach, what if all, I would say black folks or the minorities, what if the people that whom we all deemed were responsible took that approach, that in everything that I do and say, it'll be in a positive manner, and for the fortitude of our whole race, culture, and even the generation. Because I feel like past generations, I feel like Benny Lake's generation, that's how they carried themselves. A young man posted a picture on Facebook, and it was like from the 50s. And it was like 5 little boys who were all dressed up in suits. And the heading was like, this is how we used to want to look. Or this is the way, this is what little boys wanted to look like when they were little boys. And then there was you know how to do it on Instagram, and the other half of the picture was someone with their pants hanging down. Like, what if everybody had that? Like, let's use the rapper T.I. for an example. What if what he does in his foundation, what if his foundation was a total reflection of his music? Because it's not. It is absolutely not. Not even from a Christian standpoint, but it's almost like hypocritical. You talk about in your music, it's about drugs, violence, sex, threesomes, all kind of foolishness. But you go and pass out turkeys on Thanksgiving, or you go meet with some underprivileged youth.
Right.
Like
after the fact, right?
After the fact, what if a kid was to raise his hand and say, "Can you explain to me and read off some of his lyrics?"
Right.
What does this mean? Because you just told me to stay drug free and go to school and abstain from sex and do these things, but your music, your album is called trap music. What does it mean, trap music? Can you explain that to me, Mr. Harris?
Right,
like it's crazy.
But that's what this show. But that's what this Keenan. That's why Keenan Lake has taken upon himself financially, culturally, and morally to form this show. Because Keenan Lake always brings to the table these statistics that show that the lack of male leadership. Let's not even talk about father leadership. We know we need to talk about that. But the lack of male leadership in the family, in the home, in the community is law. It's a joke. It's a joke. And so, Keenan, I got to turn it back over to you because I'm going to let this fire stay dim and let it go, because I don't want to get too stirred up. But, Keenan, that's why we're doing the show, correct?
Well, Coach, you're exactly right, Coach. You are exactly right. But let me say something, too. And Tyson made some very, very valid points. But this was another piece of the conversation. And I want Coach, I want you and Tyson, because I think we have a great point going now, and I want to kind of continue with it. But check this out. So, in the midst of the conversation with my cousins, we were talking, and they were saying that, the issues that we're dealing with now are African American minority issues, just like Tyson just stated. But they said, so the way we got ourselves in this mess, we have to get ourselves out of this mess. And they were saying that the way we need to do this is to become more financially stable, and that was the point they were making. But this is the thing that I wanted to add to that, y'all, and this is Coach and Tyson. We definitely need to take more responsibility and start digging ourselves out of the hole that we have ourselves in, because just like we talked about the other day, with the mindset that we have now, like for example, the mindset that has been either given to us, pushed upon us. However you want to say it, it's like we can't do that, and we're not doing it. And the point that I'm trying to make is this too: the same. I never watch the BET Awards or the Oscars. No, I just never been into that. That's just me. I can't get into it because it's all about, to me it's all about just a bunch of I don't get into it. Primarily the recent stuff because it's gotten even more out of hand. But I happened to catch a glimpse the other day. It was a replay of the BET Awards. And they had about 4 rappers in a row do a brief part of their song, and every single one got on stage with their pants sagging. So it's like me and my men's development program that I run, every day that I'm with these young men, I tell at least 5 of them, pull your pants up, keep your pants up. But it's pointless because it's like I'm telling them one thing, but they see what society and what is accepted on a national TV and it's embraced. So that's the type of thing I'm saying that we got to change. It's like, okay, I'm not getting off on a tangent and picking with people who are making a point to say sagging is just the ultimate wrong thing to do, but we have to start somewhere. And if our young men are walking around with their pants to the floor, like the guy said years back, then like Tyson just mentioned, we had young men in the day who aspired to reach those goals and dress nice and put on shirts and ties and walk around with your head held high and all that kind of stuff. But now it's different. It's different. And I don't think have we lost that? How do we get it back? I'm just lost. I'm glad that you asked that question because for those that are listening, it's a very, very important question. But let's go back now. Keenan, you have found a group of young boys who are yet in the development stage. And as quiet as our message seems to be, and as loud as the opposite messages seem to be, we still have and can find, as Tyson can testify with his work with young people and even young adults, we still can testify that there are a plethora of young folk that need to be molded
They need to be encouraged. They need to be shown another way. They need to be called into account. But Keenan, I want to bring back your point from the last show about the Willie Lynch letters. And I want to read this before Tyson weighs in on this, because pretty much what we've learned to be is fools. We've learned to be fools according to what he says. He says, for example, if you take a slave, if you teach him all about your language, he would know all your secrets, and he is then no more a slave. So Keenan, the My Daddy Taught Me That program is teaching these young boys and even their parents, and this show is teaching the listeners the secrets of why we're failing in homes and in community. Listen, he says this. He says, being a fool is one of the basic ingredients of any ingredients to the maintenance of the slavery system. If I can get you to go out there and look dumb, act dumb, sing dumb, and get paid for being dumb, then I got a good slave on the field. Tyson, turn it over to you.
Oh, man. Hey, look. You know what? That's so powerful, man. And I'm going to share with you guys something. Yesterday, my wife and I, we were on our way taking our son to his football game. And as we got to an intersection, there was a sheriff's department out there, and they had a bunch of inmates picking up trash. And, you know, we had the windows down, we were just riding, and, you know, I looked over, really wasn't paying them any attention, and two boys looked right into my truck, and they both yelled, "Thug life." And they looked at each other and started laughing, and they yelled, "Thug life" again. And they kind of giggled. And my wife, you know, she's totally disgusted. Like, she just looked at me, and these are black. There were like 10 guys, they were all black. And my wife said, "You know what?" She said, the sad thing is, that's a cop-out. Like, you feel uncomfortable. You know you feel uncomfortable when you see these people that stop at the red light and they see you, and your first instinct is a defense mechanism and yell out something that you think people already think about you. And honestly, I had no thoughts about these young men. But it's a microcosm of what our culture deals with. Our culture, out of insecurity, and that's what it is, out of insecurity, these young men embrace the foolishness because that's what the culture teaches. Right. Why would I go outside of what everybody else is doing, and I'm not comfortable doing that? When I can fit in and be a fool. I can fit in with my pants hanging down. Because if I put on a shirt and tie, I'm going to look like a clown. Look different. To the people in the culture. But when we step outside of the culture, it's a whole different world. Well, you know, my college coach used to tell us all the time, listen, you guys are cocky, but nobody knows you outside of Johnson C. Smith University. He said you can walk off of this campus and go 3 miles to the left or the right, and nobody will recognize you. But in this world, you think you're the stuff. And it's like, and that's the same thing with our culture. Within the community, you're one thing, but there's a whole world that functions completely, that thought pattern is different. The way they live, think, breathe, and eat is different. And the sad part is the youth and the people that we're talking about, they're not exposed to that culture. It's a cocoon.
That's very well said.
But that's the point. That's the point. The Keenan Lake Show, Tyson, what you're doing, what I'm doing, we are raising, I hate to use a church phrase, but we're raising the praise. We're raising the complimentary voice, the original voice for all mankind, the voice that says, "Go ye and multiply," the voice that says, "I made for you a helpmeet. Rest until that helpmeet is manifest." The original voice of, and people can say what they want to say, they can believe in what they want to believe in, but until you include the creator of the creation in your situation, in your circumstances, will be going around in circles. You know what I'm saying? But Keenan, I wanted to ask you a question right before we go to break. If we have fathers, Tyson and Keenan, that were hugging, loving, doing their best at home and in the communities, these kids wouldn't have a hunger to be accepted, because most people would not do anything different because they're afraid to be rejected. Keenan, I want to give you the last word before we go to commercial on that thought right there.
Well, Coach, I mean, you couldn't have hit it on the head. I mean, you hit the nail right on the head with that. The same thing about that Willie Lynch letter. Let me just say, go back real quick, Coach, and say that verse that you read was extremely powerful. Tyson, what you just said was right on point. Back to what you just now talked about, Coach, about the fathers and stuff. This is what we know, Coach. Particularly in young men, we do see, and with young women as well, or men or women as well, we definitely get that loving, nurturing component from our mother. Mm-hmm. But it is so much more, it's so powerful when you get that from your dad. When you can drop those boundaries, and when the male drops those boundaries to let his son know, it's okay for me to kiss you, son. I'm your father. I can kiss on you. You're my son. I love you. Mm-hmm. To be embraced, but, you know, real quick, I'm not sure. I may have shared this with the audience before on another show, but my dad used to call me in college, and he used to say, son, your mother said you need to call her. Your mother said that you ain't called her in a month. It's been 3 weeks to a month, and she hasn't heard from you. You know, I'm your daddy. I don't care if you never call, but, you know, you need to call your mother, though. Mm-hmm. So I'll call my mother. So then she'll say, son, you know your daddy miss you. You know, he's trying to be tough. He's trying to be tough. So then I'll call my dad, and I call my father Pop. So I'm like, Pop, man, you think you slick. He's like, son, your daddy love you, man. He said, he didn't really say, your daddy love you, man. He said, I really do miss you, man, but dang, I had to tell your mom, you know, then he'll try to make a big play, you know, but ultimately it was him showing how much he missed his son and how much he loved his son. You know, I can think of countless times when my father used to hug me in public, kiss on me. You know, I'm like, dang, you know this, but it was cool. It wasn't a problem. But now, all of a sudden, we have it where, Coach, it's not manly, or it's against the man code or the man rule to be a father and show that love and affection for your children, primarily your son, when he's the one who needs it the most.
That's right. That's right, Keenan. And you know what? We all can say to those that are listening, because we can go to commercial break, but we're going to say what we got to say. As you can see, all three of us, we're going to say what we got to say because we want y'all to be encouraged. If you didn't have a father, you didn't have a male figure, it still ain't too late, because that's what God is for. I mean, I know people think God is, you know, just for, you know, when you're in trouble. Or God is just for when you go to church or something like that. But God is a father. He knows the pain. He knows. He sent his son. He had to be without a son. And so I ain't trying to, you know, I'm just letting y'all know, if you ain't have a daddy in your life, it ain't too late, because he'll show you how to pull your pants up. You know, he'll show you how to be polite to women. He'll show you how to clean your mouth up. That father that I'm talking about right there, he'll show you how to appreciate life and keep your life from going down the tubes, man. I know I got witnesses on the line right now that can testify. I got to go to break, y'all. We'll be right back. Ken Lake Show, live and hot, right here on SIB and Reddit's the Coach.
Responsible, accountable. Who taught you that?
My daddy taught me that. That's right, the new book, all the way from Asheville, North Carolina, representing the legacy of Benny Lake, is Keenan Lake, the author of My Daddy Taught Me That, the book and the program for young men in Asheville, North Carolina, and throughout the region. Tune in to the program, the project, and the book at mydaddytaughtmethat.com. For more information, email lake@mydaddytaughtmethat.com or call 828-582-2261. That's 828-582-2261. mydaddytaughtmethat.com. I need you to realize and accept that there is only one philosophy that I have embraced under the Coach's Corner's umbrella, and that is that we are the common denominator in every situation. So I can't blame them, they, her, and him. I am stepping up to the plate, and I realize it's all me. that it's all about me, but it's all about the legacy for those that come behind me to achieve a height of success that I can't even imagine. This is called the transgenerational shift of mindsets, that we may propel ourselves into the generations that is to come and tell them, I won't leave you a mess that you have to clean up, but I'll leave you a principle-centered life that you can celebrate and catapult into more success. Join me on the Coach's Corner at www.415-96radio.com. That's www.415-96radio.com, and follow me on Twitter. That's the only way you can keep up with the coach. That's right, DCC is in the house on SIBN Radio. Tune in.
All right, y'all, we back here at the Keenan Lake Show, live and on demand, and I'm telling you right now, we got a hot conversation going. I felt something right there, Keenan, about that father thing. A lot of people feel, they're upset. A lot of folks are upset. Let's just call it what it is. A lot of folks are upset that they did not have a father in their life. He walked off, he drove off, he rode off, whatever the situation. And they need to know it's not too late, because that's what this show is about. And there's a whole host of other people out there, not only just churches, but nonprofits, other folks that are activists, and they're bringing the fatherly spirit back into our lives. We can't listen. We love our mothers, we love our women, but life was not meant to be with a woman alone, whether it's in an intimate sense or even in a parental sense. You gotta have a male leading somewhere in the mix, and you gotta have a fatherly spirit somewhere. Keenan, can you help them out and let them know there's still hope?
Coach, I'm glad you brought this particular part of the conversation up today as well. And before I let Tyson weigh in on this, let me just say this. And this is some personal information, but I don't mind sharing this with the audience. My father never met his father until he was 33 years old. Okay, my dad was raised with his grandparents. Never met his parents until he was 33 years old. But yet and still, he was the best father. He was a great man, and he did miraculous things for me and his family. So, with that being said, I was truly blessed to have the father that I had. As much as I love my father, as much as I love my father to death, and look at him as the best man, the best example, and this, that, and the third, his love and his presence is only a mere shadow of what our Heavenly Father is. So,
yes, sir.
It's just a mere shadow of that, and it's like, as great as my dad was, as great a man as he could be, he's not even a micro organism compared to what Christ is, and how and the love that Christ shows and the love that Christ has for us. So, I just wanted to say that. Tyson, it's on you.
Like Coach has mentioned, that it's never too late. And I always look at, and Keenan knows, I'm not sure if you know, Coach, but I had a brother that died August the 15th of this year. And right here in Charlotte. And, I talked to my dad yesterday. My dad wasn't there for any of us in the capacity that he should have been. I was in Asheville. My other siblings were here in Charlotte. And even without that, like, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying that I'm some kind of super dad. But the common core objective in all of this, and I think, in my opinion, is Christ. Because what happens is you learn to become objective in everything. I'm able to step back from myself and see certain flaws and know this is why I'm this way, because my dad wasn't here on this particular part. I always joke with Keenan when it comes to the basketball. I always tell him, man, you suck to have had a dad, because if I'd had a dad, I can't even tell you where I'd have been. I mean, I tell him that all the time, just because we know how crucial the father's influence is.
Right.
But in order for you to get better, in order for you to step aside yourself and say, well, dang, I need to do better, and I didn't have my father, you have to be able to take an objective view of yourself. And I don't think there's anything that can humble you or more humbling than repentance and understanding the activation of Christ in your life. The sheer action of getting on your knees it's a humbling posture. That's why you're on your knees. You're bowing down and you're in repentance and praying to your Heavenly Father. You see what I'm saying? And in that mode, it changes how you look at yourself.
Because you're going to bow to somebody. You're going to bow to somebody.
Exactly.
So,
I mean, you're bowing to somebody now. You just don't realize it.
Right. But you know, Keenan, I just want to go back to that point that you brought up, the name of the show, Who's Raising Our Kids. We need our listeners to understand, and I know Keenan, I know Keenan is passionate about this. We need our listeners to understand that, listen, society, though we want to give compliments where compliments are due, overall, society is not going to raise our kids properly. They're just not going to do it. I mean, back to the Willie Lynch letters, when they talk about the making of a slave, they go into grave detail from man to woman to children to economics to political systems and beyond, how to keep a mind enslaved to a certain concept and idea. And so if you're looking for relief from the music, from entertainment, even from television, I hate to say it, and I love television. I watch as much of it when I can that I can. I won't lie, I'm a visual guy. But if you're looking for help from all of these venues, they're just not going to offer you anything sustainable for raising your kids. I want to go back to that point that Keenan said. He had asked a question earlier about when he tells his boys to pull their pants up, does it matter? If each one reach one. Now, with me and mine, I got one left at home, guys, 14 years old. And a couple of times, I seen his pants not sagging, but just, where it's just not pulled up. And I say, you got a belt on? Oh, yeah, it's in my bag. I'm getting ready to put it on now. Because I told him, I said, if I ever catch you with your pants sagging, I'm going to put them on your knees, and I'm going to require that they be on your knees. Not, like they got it now, but some of them almost got to their knees. But I think the point is, if each one do what they can to spur the young men on to be different, because difference is recognized in economics. When you start being different in math and different in science, when your GPA is different, you access a whole new world. You see what I'm saying? So, Keenan, I just want to encourage you that, we all trying to reach just one, and perhaps two, if we can handle two, perhaps three, but it feels like a lost cause, but it's not, because we know this is our mission in life, Keenan.
Right. And, Coach, let me elaborate on that. There's two things I want to elaborate on. The first thing is this, what your son is blessed to have is that voice, that male voice to say what you just said. If I catch your pants down, you're gonna, and he knows that you mean that, and it's like, okay, you know what? And this is the thing, folks. Once again, the Keenan Lake Show is not trying to knock mothers or discredit mothers. In fact, we uplift mothers because we know that you folks are the ones that are taking care of our youth and our children. What we want to do is get these men on board to step up and be better fathers, better husbands, better male role models for our children. But what you just said, Coach, that coming from you carries much more weight than if his mother would have said that. So now he knows, it's been affirmed, like, you know what, Pops ain't playing. I better not let my pants be down again. So also with that is this: it's not the fact that I'm discouraged by the way society is doing things, because society is going to be society, and it's not. We know how society is going. Society is not Christ-based. In fact, it's probably anti-Christ when you think about all the things that's going on. However, what discourages me is how, if I'm able to see certain things, why is no one else able to see it? And that's what bothers me. Like, I'm decent. I'm not the smart. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I'm not the dullest either. But the point I'm trying to make is this: if I can see that there's a moral, like Tyson said earlier, that moral compass, there's something morally wrong with the music that you're promoting and putting out, the images that you're creating on TV for these young folks to see, the lifestyle that you're upholding and holding dear and saying that's just. If I can see it, why can't no one else see it? And if you can see it, why are we not stepping up, making it a point to say, you know what, this is not right, and this is not the way we should be going? That's my frustration, Coach.
Yeah, and I want Tyson to weigh in on that, because he works with youth and parents all the time. Tyson, what's your take on that? What he said?
I think to answer Keenan's question, I think quite often people see it, but that's where the culture has changed. There used to be a culture in which people see things that need to be addressed, and they address them. They see a young man that's out of pocket, and it didn't have to be his uncle. It could just be a neighbor or somebody that knows your dad, or maybe not even didn't know anybody in your family, but it's like, hey, get it together, or they would address you. Today, man, listen, first of all, we've been given everything. So there is no community, there is no unification of the community. And it's work, Keenan. It's for what you do in your program, it's work. You have to give your time. Quite often you're giving your money, you're giving your energy, and most people are frankly worried about theirs. And that's it. I see that there are young men who need other fathers, but man, I got my own 3 kids, and I work 2 jobs, and this, that, and the third. Like I tell you, when my brother passed, I said to my dad, listen, we have to all be better as a result of his death. And I talked to him yesterday. Hey, man, have you, my brother that died, his son's name was Keyshawn. I asked my dad, have you seen Keyshawn? No, I hadn't seen him. I've been working this double shift. And I said, man, that's an excuse. Like, like you have to make things happen. You got to make it happen. Nothing happens by chance.
Yeah.
Nothing. Keenan Lake is not who he is just because he's a nice guy. That's work that his parents, that the community, his uncles, that everybody put in. But most people, we're focused on what we have to do.
Right.
It's sad that kid over there, dad is not around, or this kid needs help with this, that, and the third. But if I could, I would, but I can't. And it's not you can't, it's that you're not willing to make it happen.
Well,
you're not willing to make it happen.
But one of the things I was thinking about, Keenan, I want you to weigh in on this as we head toward the close, is we had, Tyson, Keenan, we had seniors correcting us growing up. Let's just make that clear. When I say seniors, we had seasoned seniors, folks that were grown folks. The grown folks' needle has been moved back to you. You grown in your 20s. Well, first of all, hold up. You can't even make a cake. You can't even make a homemade cake yet. You see what I'm saying? I mean, the needle for grown folks have been pushed forward. And in all actuality, Keenan, we had for the last, I want to say a generation and a half, maybe 2, but generation and a half for sure, a lot of young people who had families, children, and not to hate on anybody, not judging anybody, but we weren't always ready for the most part for all of this responsibility, and I do mean all of this responsibility. And so as a result, Tyson, now that we're getting from 20s into the 30s and maybe to the early 40s, we realize now, I got to take care of these here bills, I got to take care of this here car note, I got to do this, I got to do that. And so all of a sudden now we realize, I got to be responsible, but we left out one key thing. That kids don't do what you tell them, they do what they see you do. And that's the difference. Even if
they don't see you, they're going to do what they see everybody else do.
Exactly. Keenan, he hit it on the head.
Yeah, and he did. And that was a really, really good, valid point that Tyson made. And you know what, it actually kind of hit home because he was absolutely right. Tyson, you were absolutely right. And this is the thing, folks. I don't do what I do for accolades. Tyson doesn't do what he does for accolades, and neither does Coach. We do what we do primarily because it's 3 things. The first thing is God has blessed us to have lifestyles, people who have been put in our paths to have instilled certain things in us. The second thing is because we're passionate about making change and making a difference, not only in our communities but in our world. And the third thing is we want our kids to be better than we were and be better than we are. So with those 3 things, it's like if you can't see a difference. Coach, I think I heard something going off. Yeah, if you can't see a difference and make a change, and it doesn't have to be a drastic change. It doesn't. What Tyson is saying is the reason that I'm doing what I'm doing is because I was able to and I was blessed to. But it is work. Let me say that it's a lot of work. It's a lot of nights, a lot of days, a lot of time, a lot of money and resources that go into doing this type of work. But it's not necessarily doing this type of work that may be your calling. But at the same time, not being afraid to step up and make those changes is what I'm talking about. And make those subtle changes. If you see somebody doing something they're not supposed to be doing, or if you see some kind of wrong, making a right, that's the type of thing that I'm talking about.
That's right. And you know what you're doing, Keenan, Tyson, what you're doing, we're calling ourselves to the carpet, but we're calling folks along with us who are listening to the sounds of our voices and to the carpet to be more watchful, be a watchdog about, because Keenan, you are absolutely right. Let me just go to this point that you said at the top of the show. If a child hears and sees anything other than what is put in front of it from a parental side view, that child is going to gravitate to that. I don't care what it is. It could be video games. If you don't never tell your child to get up from the video game, that child going to gravitate to more video game. It could be music videos with sex and all of that stuff in there. So children are magnets. They are only attracted to what holds their attention and what they are allowed to be guided under or facilitated under. So, Keenan, to your point about who's raising our kids, if we could just be more of a watchdog, because let's call a spade a spade. If a child listens and hear about sex all the time, Tyson, Keenan, will that child want to be involved in that type of behavior? I'll say yes.
Yeah, it'd be oversexed and highly sexualized.
Right.
Absolutely right.
If it hears about thug life every 5 seconds, and thug life, we know what the new thug, not the old thug, the OG, that's a show by itself, Keenan. We can talk about the OG. But the new G, he lives off of a woman. I need some help. He goes and treats women like trash. He may even have a job and don't support his own kids, but yet he's proud to have those kids. I need some help right there. So, I mean, we don't even want to, listen, we're encouraging all our listeners, you got to be a watchdog and make sure that even though you're busy, even though you got to work, even though you got to pay bills, even though you got to do this, that, and the other, make sure your child has some interruption time from the parent side and say, look, you sat here long enough. Hey, that's enough of that right there. That's enough of Facebook. That's enough of Instagram. That's enough of YouTube. Hey, I need you to get this trash. If we interrupt what they're being attracted to, perhaps, Keenan, we could do a little bit more raising. What you think?
I think you're absolutely right, Coach. I think that you hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah, man. Because, it hurts me in my heart, man. And there's a lot of folks out there, man. They super busy. And I know what it means to be busy. If you don't pay your bills now, they put you out on the street in a heartbeat. But at the same time, Keenan, if you don't raise your kids going to be in the street. They're going to embarrass your name. I don't even want to start talking about it. But, Keenan, this is a great topic today. Who's responsible for raising our youth? Great topic, man.
Yes, sir. Well, listen, I would love to thank Tyson for being on the show. We enjoyed you, Tyson. You hit some valid points. You made some valid statements and some great information.
Yes, sir.
Great information. So, Coach, I think it's about time to wrap up. And
go on and give them that Twitter and Facebook, man, Kenan.
All right, folks. So, yeah, if you're following me, please continue to follow me on the KL Show. That's at Twitter. Facebook, I have a Keenan Lake Facebook. I have a My Daddy Taught Me That Facebook. And also Keenan Lake on SIBN Radio. So make sure you follow those 3 Facebook pages and the Twitter page. And also, if you want to hear the show, you missed the show, you want to catch a second show or listen to it again, you can always listen to the show on the website, My Daddy Taught Me That, and also on SIBN Radio.
That's what's up, man. Great show. Everybody be encouraged. It's tough out there in them streets, man. Get to a church somewhere. Get you some spiritual something to hold you down, man, because it's rough out there. Keenan knows that he's a social worker there in Asheville. Tyson sure enough knows it because he's working. Tyson, tell him again what kind of work you're doing there in North Carolina, man.
My wife and I, we're actually former school teachers, so we stopped teaching. We wanted to be more impactful, and we started a child enrichment center where we do before and after school, summer camp. We do tutorial, and everything is about exposure for us. exposure to the Word of God first and foremost, and then teaching kids life skills through the experiences that we're able to kind of help them embark on.
That's what's up.
We do a lot. You can bless them to do it.
Yeah, y'all in the trenches.
Let me add, Coach, that Tyson's out of Charlotte, North Carolina. So if anybody's looking for an enrichment center child facility to take their children to, he's out of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Man, that's what's up, man. My heart is just melting right now, man, because the topic alone, man, is heavy. Keenan, you did it again, man. You started a fire, and you didn't run away from it this time. You just threw more wood in there, but I guess I'm going to be all right. I just feel heavy.
That's all right, Coach.
All right, y'all, man. You've been listening to the Keenan Lake Show right here on SIBN Radio, man. Tune in next time, same station, man. Until then, raise your kids. Don't let nobody else do it. Keenan, you got to stand by.
All right.
This is SIBN Radio, and you have just tuned in to the Keenan Lake Show. I'm your host, Keenan Lake. I am a published author, book My Daddy Taught Me That, a public speaker, and the president of a men's development youth program. The purpose of this show is to create awareness on topics that are dear to my heart, primarily absent fathers, male role models in the home, youth and young adults and children, families, and neglect and abuse. I not only want to shine a light on these topics and create awareness on these topics, I want to educate, inform, encourage, and motivate. So please join us on the Keenan Lake Show. For more information about the Keenan Lake Show, give us a call at 415-967-2346. And we thank you for listening to SIBN Radio.